Hey, thank you for joining us for another DREI podcast, also on YouTube. And I'm so excited to have Brad Barker with me today. So many times I've been guilty of calling you Mark, and sometimes you're probably always referred to as Mark's brother. But you're Brad,
Fun.
and you have Brad. Let me tell you what has set his own mark in the real estate industry, and especially with from an educational point of view. And it's always been a great friend of mine. And
Thank you.
so, Brad, thank you
Likewise.
for joining us.
You bet.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, let's kind of go back to REEA.
hmm
How did you get involved in REEA? What kind of drove you to say, I think I want to be involved in REEA?
Yeah, good question, John. I actually got started from the very beginning almost. I was a CPA out of college and did that for a couple of years and did not like that. And then my brother Mark had started the real estate school and he said I could use some help here. So I joined him in the late 1980s, as a matter of fact. And then in the 90s, REIA got going. I mean, REIA was started in 1980, actually, officially is when it began as an organization. So Mark got involved with it, and he said, "Brad, you got to come with me to these conferences we have." So in the early 90s, I started going to REIA, and I've been going ever since.
Great, excellent. And of course, I remember you back in the late 80s when we would both go to the Missouri Real Estate
Yep.
Educators meetings, and we
Yes.
met in that kind of theater style area
hmm
that I'm trying to Truman Building, I think
I
maybe
think
it
that's right.
was, or
Sounds right.
eh, that was back in the days when they would let us take a look at the at the exams
Yeah.
and applied measurement, I think. But it was like we weren't there to try to memorize questions. We just wanted to see, is
Yep.
there something I'm missing while I'm teaching something? But
That's true.
so Brad, I've known Brad for a long time. So then you take this DREI journey.
hmm
That was your next step. How has that played a role in your instruction and pre-license or continuing education? You want to talk a little bit about that?
You bet. I cannot even talk strongly enough about how it has influenced me and helped me in my career. I got the DREI back in 2006, but everything that I do when I teach or present or just talk in any kind of circles or whatever, I always use all the DREI standards. It is just not something you do. The 50-minute video we submit, John, to get the DREI designation. It's not something we do and then we don't do that anymore. It's like, no, this is what we do from now on. As a matter of fact, one of my instructors is working on getting his DREI right now, and we were both teaching one morning, and he finished a few minutes before I did. So he popped into the back of my class just to kind of watch me as I was finishing up my class, for about 10 minutes. And afterwards, I kind of got a kick out of it. Afterwards, he goes, Brad, he goes, when you teach, you do all those DREI things. Everything you're doing, everything about you is following the DREI principles. And my response, John, was, well, of course, that's why we get the DREI designation, simply to go ahead and use those to become a more effective instructor in the classroom. So it's meant the world to me, truly.
Great, exactly. Yeah, and I feel the same way that what you said there. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's so important. One of the things I've always appreciated about you, Brad, is that you, when you do talk or have a comment in one of our educator meetings or
hmm
wherever I've been involved is I always know you're going to have something really valuable. It's not to say other people don't have valuable things
Sure.
to say, but I really kind of want to pay attention because I know you have put some thought into it and have looked at the question and the topic you're about to ask. So I've always appreciated that about you. And I've always
Thank you.
appreciated how you really, when you speak, you can see the DREI characteristics glow from you, and even in your brother Mark as well. And which Mark, as most people know, Brad's brother, kind of created the whole
hmm
DREI program way back when.
hmm
But I think watching you, Brad, inspired me to say there's something different about his presentation style, and I want to be like Brad, and I want to be like Mark and others. And so I wanted to just mention that you were an inspiration for me to want to go down that path and
Oh,
sharpen
very
my
good.
skills. And so it's been real
I
good.
I did not know that, John. Thank you. I appreciate you
Well,
sharing that.
you're welcome. So speaking of DREI, the different tools and steps, what's one of the things that you seem like you go back on more than, I mean, is there one that you seem to, okay, this is a DREI principle and I'm going to make this useful? I mean, is
Sure.
there one that pops out that you think of more than anything?
There is, and I actually learned this from Don Levi, who was at Wichita State University for many, many years, and he wrote the book on how to teach adults, and was kind of a pioneer in our industry, quite frankly. And he came to our uh, facility, our school, at one time and put on some kind of seminar, like an hour-long seminar I was in. And one thing he did, which is a DREI principle, I have utilized just forever, and it makes all the difference in the world. And that is just using people's names, not calling them out or asking questions or whatever, but just using a person's name and examples and so forth and so on. So during this hour-long seminar, I remember that, sometimes your mind just wanders, and my mind's wandering a little bit, and all of a sudden he called my name. He said, for example, let's say Brad was the seller here going somewhere or whatever, just use my name in a situation, and boom, it brought me right back to what we were talking about here because he used my name. And I've had so many people over the years say, gosh, you're so good at names, and especially on CE classes, if you can use people's names, it really helps and so forth. But that's probably the biggest thing that I have found as far as my teaching that really makes a difference, and that is keeping people involved simply by calling their names as I'm talking about uh, various topics or whatever it may be.
Excellent point. I have to tell you, I was speaking this last month in Dodge City, Kansas, not
Hmm.
too far from you, but
Yeah.
I'd always wanted to teach in Dodge City, Kansas. And I got to the job site, and, I had the room set up the way it was supposed to be set up. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have name cards or
Oh.
tent cards for the names.
Uh-huh.
And so we kind of improvised on the spot with some paper. The
Mm-hmm.
lady that was in charge there helped me. And so everybody put their name on the
Mm-hmm.
tent card. And I kind of used Teresa Barnaby, what she uses at the gold standard to,
Mm-hmm.
what's your superpower or something. But and so had I not done that, I couldn't have used just what you're saying, because I've followed others like yourself where you bring someone's name, not that you're putting them on the spot, but
Right.
just kind of including them in an example, or
Exactly.
when you acknowledge, being able to have that name right in front of you to say, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Brad. That's a great question. And
Y-
so, and I have
You
to
know,
say, that's probably the one I use a lot, is thanking and acknowledging the question,
sure.
and then repeating it to the group, because
Absolutely.
so many times I'll be in courses, and you'll have to, someone will say, could you repeat that? We didn't hear the question. So,
That is true, and I hate that when I'm in a session when I'm a student, it drives me nuts.
right.
And the instructor will say, "Did you all hear that question?" It's like, don't ever say that because it's dumb to say it anyway. But when somebody asks a question, as the leader, you automatically thank them and repeat it to the group. You don't have to say to the group, "Hey, did you all hear that?" Anyway, it's
Right.
just a pet peeve of mine. And the other
Right.
thing I do sometimes, John, I cheat on the name sometimes when I'm teaching the CE class. We don't always use little tent cards. I do for pre-license and so forth because I have them for a week or whatever. But
Right.
just for a 3 hour class, sometimes I don't always do the tent cards. Of course, I've been doing this for 41 years. We have a lot of repeat customers, like I'm sure you do, John. I
Exactly.
kind of know a
Yes.
lot of them. But at the very beginning, I pass around an attendance sheet and I have them print their names right in a row so I could, into class, I can pass out certificates real easily because it's all in a row. And so what I do, even though I do know a lot of them, don't know all of them, but after the attendance sheet goes around, while they're doing group work or something, I grab the attendance sheet and look at their names and kind of go around the room and saying, "Oh yeah, that's Phil. Yeah, that's Phyllis," and so forth.
Right.
As I'm teaching the whole class, I'm always calling them by their name, even though there's no tent cards. And invariably,
Exactly.
people come up and say, "How do you do that, Brad? There's no tent cards. You know all our names. You're so good at that." And sometimes I'll confess and say, well, I cheat a little bit. Okay. But I do work at it. I actually kind of look at the names and kind of put names to faces, but it makes a world of difference in your teaching. It really does.
It does. And I think it was uh, Think and Grow Rich, the author of that,
Oh,
who
yeah.
said that the sweetest words to anyone is their first name. I
That's
have
true.
to tell you, I recently did a little sales meeting on remembering people's names because I always have a hard time remembering. I'll meet someone, they will tell me their name, but
Sure.
so it's something I'm trying to get better at. But I think that's a great tip.
I
Any
do too.
speaking of tips, what's a tip you would give someone that's thinking about getting their DREI, or what I shouldn't say tip, but maybe a reason or something you think would be good for them to get their DREI?
The only thing I can say, there's not a tip per se, but the reason I'm bringing in the DREI is I can simply say it is the most important thing I've ever done as far as real estate education, myself being an instructor, bar none, joining REEA and then subsequently getting the DREI. I can't imagine not having it. I can't. Uh, Obviously, you can be a good teacher without the DREI. I'm not saying that at all, but the DREI and the principles just really just makes you excellent in what you do in all facets. So that's the reason
Yeah,
you get the DREI, not to say, hey, I'm a DREI. I don't even, when I teach a pre-license class, I don't mention that I'm a DREI. When I teach a CE, I don't mention that at all. When we're at REEA, we talk about it, obviously. But people know when they're in my classes, when they leave, that, boy, that was an excellent class. The instructor had control and really called our scholars by our names and so forth. They don't know that's because of the DRI program that I'm able to do that. But it makes a world of difference in your classes and how students perceive you, and realize that you are just excellent at what you do as an instructor.
yeah. Thank you, Brad. That was very, very good. Anything else you want to add about the DREI? Or, and by the way, Brad, if you're watching this and you have a school, yes, provides because he's been one of our sponsors, but has provides a really wonderful exam prep tool that your students can subscribe to, and I'll let you tell us a little bit about that and the web address, because I think so many of our people watching might be in need of something like that they could offer to their students.
Sure, I appreciate that, John. Yeah, a lot of students always come up to instructors, hey, is there anything else I can study and so forth? And sometimes if they do too much outside stuff, it kind of hurts them, quite frankly. So we just have one thing that we offer. It's called Exam Smart. You can go to examsmart.com, and any school can use it across the country. I've got about 500 questions, national and many state law questions as well for quite a few of the states. But what really kind of makes us different is that every question that pops up on the screen, it gives the full explanation. Here's why A is true, here's why B is false, and so forth. But there's also a video button. So every single question, if they're still confused on the topic, they can click a play video button. And I've got a 2 to 3 minute video on the main concepts of that particular question that we're talking about, whether it be deeds,
Yeah.
mortgages, and so forth. There's math videos, and that's available for any school to use. Obviously, the students purchase the Exam Smart program to help pass the test. But any school out there, I've got about 68 videos. There's 2 to 3 minute videos. If you're interested in using them, that's free. That's on me. You certainly just contact me, and I'll be glad to let you know how you can use those videos in class from time to time if you're interested.
Great. Thank you, Brad. And by the way, for those of you watching, Brad was the past REEA, Real Estate Educators Association president in, don't tell me, 2022?
I think that is right. It's about three
Yeah,
years
because it
ago.
was the same.
2022 would have been it. That's correct.
Yep, that was the same year when I
Yeah.
was president for Missouri Realtors. So
Oh, that's
that's
right.
why we were both talking about all of our duties we had to do.
Yes,
What a
indeed.
cray year it was. But he did a great job as our president, and
Thank you. It was an
still
honor to do
very
it. It really
involved
was.
with REEA and with the DREI, and so Brad, thank you
You
so
bet.
much for your time. This has been great,
Thank
and
you, John. Appreciate it. It's been a great
thank
being here.
you. Bye.
Bye bye.